Lakshmi, I can't hear you.
There we go. You can hear me now, right? So again, I'll say good evening to you all. And thank you for joining me this evening for our Bhagavad Gita session, where we're continuing our journey through chapter 11. We'll try to finish it this evening, no pressure. We'll just go as we can. So I'm going to do what I've done earlier in the 11th chapter because each verse is so integrally tied into each other. Okay, so we'll begin with text 41 and 42. In my Gita, they're together. So I'll read as I normally do the Sanskrit and then the translation by Prabhupada, and we'll take it from there. So this reads Saketi Matva Prashabam Yad Uktam. Hey Krishna, Hey Yadava, Hey Saketi. Ajanata Mahimanam Tavedam Maya Pramadat Pranayena Vapi. Yachavaha Sartam Asatkritosi Vihara Sayasana Bhojaneshu Eko Tavap Yachuta Tat Samaksham Tat Chamaye Tvam Aham Aprameyam. So this is the English translation for those verses. You're all hearing me, right? I'm on. I've connected my audio. So if someone's not hearing me, please let me know. Okay. Translation of the two verses I just read. Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you. O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. To same side of the coin, I guess. Madness, love. So Arjuna is saying, you know, he's comparing his love exchange with Krishna in some ways to madness because sometimes we act silly, sometimes we act in a way that would be considered mad. When you're in love, you do things in that way. So I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone, and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all those offenses. And this is text 43, which reads, You are the Father of this complete cosmic manifestation of the moving and the non-moving. You are the worshipable chief, the supreme spiritual master. No one is equal to you, nor can anyone be one with you. How then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of immeasurable power? Text 44. You are the supreme Lord, to be worshipped by every living being. Thus I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, a friend the impertinence of a friend, or a wife the familiarity of her partner, please tolerate the wrongs I may have done you. After seeing, this is text 45, after seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened. But at the same time, my mind is disturbed with fear. Therefore, please bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords, O abode of the universe. Text 46. O universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form, with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch and lotus flower in your hands. I long to see you in that form. So here, Arjuna is petitioning Krishna, as he petitioned Krishna in the beginning of this chapter, to show him the universal form. And then Krishna did show him his universal form. And it was a fearsome, awe-inspiring vision that Arjuna was having. And now Arjuna is saying, okay, you've sufficiently freaked me out. And now I would like to see your form, your four-armed form. And this is very interesting for those of you not so familiar with Krishna and his many manifestations. Arjuna is going from universal form to the Vishnu four-armed form, and then eventually he asks for the two-armed form of Krishna, the love, the God of love, Krishna, the God of loving reciprocation. So he's asking actually to go through the whole pantheon of different forms that the Supreme Lord can and has manifest. So text 47 reads, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you by my internal potency this supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. And text 48 reads, O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form in the material world. Text 49. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra. So in the very, very beginning of our discussion, we talked about two different dialogues that take place in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna and Arjuna, which is the primary discussion, and then Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra, which is the secondary discussion that takes place within the pages of the Bhagavad Gita. So Sanjaya, who is the teacher of Dhritarashtra, says to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form, and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. Text, that was text 50, text 51. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, O Janardhan, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind, and I am restored to my original nature. Text 52, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear. So, yeah, Krishna is talking about the two-armed form. Text 53, the form you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. And text 54, my dear Arjuna, only by and this is a very important verse, so please take note. This 54 and I believe 55 reiterates this point. Yeah. So 54, text 54, my dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So pay attention to that. That's a very, very important point that is reiterated in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying that you cannot easily see the two-armed form of Krishna. That is mercy. It is when we are blessed by his mercy, then we can experience that two-armed form and the resultant reciprocation or relationship which comes from experiencing that two-armed form. And then the last verse of the 11th chapter reads, my dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, which is Shuddha Bhakti or Bhakti Yoga, pure Bhakti Yoga. So that person who is engaged in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So that's the concluding verse of the 11th chapter. And it's a very powerful verse, both the 54 and 55. Krishna is saying, these forms of Krishna, the two-arm form, the four-arm form, and the universal form, are not easy to come in contact with, to connect with. As Krishna says in the beginning of the 11th chapter, he says to Arjuna that when Arjuna requests to see the universal form, that is this frightening feature, everything contained in this one form, all the demigods, all the warriors, all living entities. Krishna uses the word divyam chakshush, that only by me bestowing this transcendental vision or ability to see, me giving you the ability to see, can you see that? And that's in regards to all forms of the Lord. Why do you think in every major religion there is virtually no description of God? Isn't that a fact? If you've read the Bible, if you've read the Quran, or if you've read the Torah, there is no description of God, no clear description of God. In fact, Christianity has been relegated to Christ. And, as far as knowing and understanding God and what he looks like, and, like, for instance, in Bhagavad Gita, we have God, Krishna, speaking to us. He's speaking to Arjuna, but these words that were delivered by him to Arjuna at that particular time, they're also for all humanity for all time. So this is a very special understanding. And Krishna says throughout this 11th chapter and other places, he's saying that you need special mercy. You need to be blessed with divine vision. And how do we earn that divine vision? It comes through devotional service, rendering service to God. And then there is the reciprocation. And what is that reciprocation? The reciprocation is to know him in a very intimate way, particularly Krishna Bhakti Yoga. When we engage in Krishna Bhakti, the yoga which is focused on service to Krishna, we can serve as friend, as parent, and as lover. These are very intimate relationships. And those relationships are there because they're mutual. Krishna enjoys those relationships. And that is why he gives that experience to his devotees, because Krishna himself wants to experience the flavor of love. We, even though we may be conditioned in a conditioned state and we can't really see or understand Krishna at this juncture, we can understand the flavors of love relationship, can't we? We can understand when we have a good friend and we are in love with that friend and we desire that the association of that friend. We have that experience here in this material world, as do we have the experience of parental love, right? We have the love coming from our mother, the love coming from our father, and the love coming from aunts and uncles, and in that similar mood. I know I grew up in a fairly large Italian American family, and I had, my mother had, I think there were two boys and four girls. So I had just on that side of the family, I had my mother and five other aunts and uncles, and we all lived very close. So I had that experience. So that kind of parental love in an extended family like that is very deeply experienced and felt. So these flavors of love exist in this world because they exist in the spiritual world. When the example is given of the banyan tree that's on the bank of a river or lake, I believe it's later on in the Bhagavad Gita. What is there is the banyan tree and then the reflection of the banyan tree in the water. So if you're standing on the other side of the lake to where the banyan tree is, on the opposite bank, then what you'll see is the real banyan tree standing upwards in its proper position. And then you see the reflection of the banyan tree reflected on the water, but it's upside down because of your position where you're standing. It's upside down. And Krishna uses that as a metaphor, as a way to understand the spiritual world and this material world as what the Prabhupada uses the word perverted reflection. So it reflects what's in the spiritual world, but it does not contain the permanence of relationships of the spiritual world. It does not contain the depth of love and the selflessness of love that's contained in the spiritual world. But at least we get a glimpse of what Krishna is talking about in terms of these relationships. And when Arjuna goes through the series of visions that he goes through, and how does he react? Well, when he sees the universal form, and we read in 41 and 42, and then he comes to his senses. He's realizing, Krishna, you're omnipotent. Krishna, you're omniscient. This interaction with the universal form is allowing him to have those expressed understandings of Krishna. Before, he didn't express that. Why? Because he was completely immersed in his love relationship as a friend. We discussed in the last class two types of Maya. There is Mahamaya and Yogamaya, right? Mahamaya meaning the energy or the influence that we're under when we're in contact with the material elements that cause us to forget that we are spirit souls and cause us to think that our material bodies and the interactions that we have in this material world are the all in all of our existence. right? How many people that you have spoken to in the course of your life say, oh, you'll only live once, right? You've probably heard that say that, oh, you only live once, enjoy it to the maximum. But that's part of the illusion, the covering that comes from being covered by Mahamaya. And it causes us to forget our eternal spiritual self and that self's relationship with the Supreme. Yogamaya is another kind of forgetfulness, but it is the type of forgetfulness that you experience when you're in your pure state of existence, your pure spiritual consciousness. Because then it's not that you only become self realized, that you realize the nature of the self, that bhakti yoga takes it beyond. Once you are self-realized, that you understand that you're not the material body, that you're a spirit soul. Bhakti yoga deals with what does that spirit soul then do in a pure state of consciousness. And what Bhakti yoga describes very lucidly is that you, in that pure state of consciousness, develop relationship with the Supreme, loving relationship. And the type of loving relationship can be of two distinct moods. And Arjuna displays those two distinct moods right now, right as we're reading these particular verses. One is called Aishwarya, and Aishwarya means in pure state of consciousness, when you are actually experiencing the Supreme in either this universal form feature or in the Narayan feature in Vaikuntha, you experience a awe and reverence. So, what is Arjuna experiencing now in relationship to the universal form right now, where we just read? He says, I have rashly thought of you in these very, very familiar ways, but now I'm seeing that you're God. And so now he's experiencing, knowing that Krishna is the Supreme. He's repentant. He's remorseful that he interacted with Krishna in a way that was too familiar for Krishna's position. Now, this is more or less, this is a display by Arjuna because Arjuna is interacting in this way for our benefit to demonstrate to us, number one, what are the various features that God can exhibit. It's described elsewhere in the Vedic literatures that are as many as there are waves that are breaking onto the shore onto the shore. Then that is how many features of the Supreme Lord there can be. Unlimited incarnations, unlimited features. And why? The question may be why. Krishna says in the 4th chapter, as you surrender unto me, as you approach me, then I reciprocate accordingly. So some in their pure state of consciousness really want to be in this awe and reverential mood. And awe and reverence means service. They're pure servant, literal servant. Everyone is a servant, but in this awe and reverence mood, like when you're before the universal form or you're in front of the Narayan four-armed feature of the Supreme, it inspires or it causes that mood of awe and reverence. When Mother Jasoda, who is in the mood of loving exchange of parent with Krishna, when Krishna reveals his universal form to her, he opens his mouth and she sees this entirety of the universe in his mouth. She starts to think like that, and Krishna immediately dissolves the vision because he doesn't want that from Mother Jasoda. He's relishing the loving exchange that she's giving as mother. And his father, Nanda Maharaj, he's relishing. It is the way they are serving Krishna. And then Krishna is reciprocating as their child. So Krishna is enjoying that love relationship because it is a flavor of love that is very special, parental love, and then Krishna being the child. It's pure, the purity of innocence, the wide-eyed feature of innocence, the dependency of innocence. When a child has a parent and the parent is taking care of the child. That is a special flavor to that love relationship. And we always see our parents in that regard, don't we? We always see how much our parents sacrificed for us as we were growing up, how much time they spent with us, you know, teaching us how to become and how to develop a character. I see a hand raised there. It says Samsung SM. Do you have a question?
No, um,
Oh,
just trying to figure this out. I just want to be quiet.
oh, okay. If
I'm
you have a
sorry.
question, not a problem. It's all right. I just didn't want to, brush by if you had a question.
I'm going to
But
try to mute my microphone. I'm very sorry to interrupt. I'm Arturo. I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm sorry.
Arturo from Puerto Rico,
Yes, sir.
bienvenido.
Gracias.
I spent 6 years of my life in Puerto Rico.
Really?
Yes, I did. We'll talk about it some other time, but I
Good.
did.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So this flavor of love exchange, love relationship is just amazing. And it really is what separates bhakti yoga from any other yoga system. And that's why bhakti yoga, when Krishna is asked in the sixth chapter, at the end of the sixth chapter by Arjuna, because Krishna's he's spoken about Sankhya yoga, the yoga of analysis. He's spoken about karma yoga, the yoga of action. He's spoken about jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge. He's presented in the first six chapters of Bhagavad Gita, different yoga systems. And of course, there are many, many more that have manifest or weren't mentioned specifically in Bhagavad Gita. But all of these yoga systems, when you think of what is the conclusion of the yoga systems, what is the conclusion? Like, for instance, in Jnana Yoga, the yoga of knowledge, the conclusion is that we are Brahman. Not that we have a relationship with God, but that we are made of, or we are the substance of Brahman, eternity, knowledge, and bliss, Satchitananda. And all of the different yoga systems, with the exception of Bhakti Yoga, do not take you to a point of personal love interaction with God. So much so that you can meditate on the form of God. You can meditate on the qualities of God. You can meditate on the pastimes, the leelas of God. And you can meditate, especially in this day and age, very important, you can meditate on the sacred names of God. That's Nama, Rupa, Guna, Lila. that we have that ability. And even when we meditate on the names, like when we do kirtan and we sing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, or when we sing Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya, Radha Ramana Hari, Govinda Jaya Jaya. Even within the sound of that name, the form can come to mind. The form can come to your meditation. That's amazing. So that's why Krishna says, in answer to Arjuna's question about what yoga system is the most complete, he very clearly and succinctly says Bhakti Yoga, because in Bhakti Yoga, we not only understand the nature of the self as Satchidananda, as eternity, knowledge, and bliss, as eternal, but we understand in that nature, in that spiritual nature, in that divine nature, we can act in loving relationship to God. And you can't have a relationship unless you know who you're loving. That's the completeness of the Bhakti Yoga system. It's not just saying love. It's some, amorphous word, love. Love is an emotion. But when you think of love and you try to define love, you can clearly define it in relationship. You clearly can understand what love is in relationship. Like if you had a loving relationship with your parents, you can clearly see that relationship. And as a parent, right, with your child, you probably amazes even you how much sacrifice you've performed during the course of your parenting for your child. Willingly. Why? Why willingly? Because of love. And why do you have this gratitude for your parents? Because of love. Because of the gratitude that comes from their sacrifice that you experience because of all their sacrifice. A friend, why? Because the relationship you have with that friend, your friend is your confidant, and you're your friend's confidant. It's special. It's close. So then we can clearly define love. We can say affection. We can say gratitude. We can say respect. These are all different closeness, selflessness. All of these are components of love, and we can clearly identify it when through a relationship. So that's what's important. So Arjuna here, 41, 42, he's saying, "Oh my God, what have I done? I've just been too familiar with what do they say? Familiarity breeds contempt." Of course, Arjuna never had contempt for Krishna, but he's getting at that point that when you become too familiar with someone, then you can, take them lightly. So he's saying, I took you lightly. We played together, we ate together, we took a nap on the same bed together. It was just too informal. When Arjuna's in this mood of awe and reverence. And that is the distinction between awe and reverence that he's experiencing now. And then when he gets back to that love reciprocation with the two-armed form of Krishna, it shows very clearly the difference between an Aishwarya approach to God, which is awe and reverence, and a Madhurya approach to God, which is this intimacy, this intimate, loving relationship. So then in 43, he says, he continues with the same mood. Arjuna is continuing with the same mood. You are the father. Now he's not only recognizing the omnipotence of Krishna in this universal form manifestation, but now he's saying, you are the father of the complete cosmic manifestation of the moving and the non-moving living entities. You are its worshipable chief, the supreme spiritual master. If you think of spiritual masters, right, there has to be an origin. Like in our lineage of Bhakti Yoga is called the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, Vaishnav Bhakti Yoga lineage. And why is it called Brahma? Because Lord Brahma was the first spiritual master in this universe. But who is Brahma's spiritual master? It was Krishna. And Krishna delivered to Brahma all the knowledge, spiritual knowledge that Brahma had and understood through Krishna's flute song, the Gayatri Mantra. So this is an amazing understanding here of what's going on. No one is equal to you, nor can anyone be one with you. How then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of immeasurable power? So he's going from being in awe and reverence, and now expressing that awe and reverential mood by identifying Krishna in the universal form in this way. You are the supreme Lord to be worshipped by every living entity. So he's calling him the father of the universe, the greatest spiritual master, the primal spiritual master, meaning the original, the object of worship, the supreme person. All of these things, he said. Therefore, Arjuna is bowing down, begging forgiveness. He's not just saying, you are very powerful, but he's recognizing that Krishna is superior ontologically to everything within creation. This separates, and this is a good thing to understand, because sometimes in kirtan, yoga kirtan in particular, it is considered that Shiva, that Saraswati, Lakshmi, Durga, Ganesh, all of these personalities are equal to Vishnu or Krishna. And herein, Arjuna is making a very clear delineation that there is a distinction. Krishna is the source, right? The demigods like Indra and Shiva and Brahma and all the demigods, they are considered devas. But Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita is called Deva Deva Jagatpate. That of all the devas, he is the supreme. So this is just a reiteration of what's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, where it says Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the supreme Bhagavan, supreme person. And this distinction is very crucial to someone who is practicing bhakti, because bhakti and bhakti yoga, Krishna bhakti in particular, that is the understanding. So in text 45, Arjuna is saying, I am delighted. I'm like awestruck, but I'm frightened because this feature of the universal form is so powerful, some omnipotent, all living entities in one place. How's this possible? So on one hand, he's just awe-inspired. On the other hand, he's frightened. Arjuna says that he is happy to have seen what no one else has seen, but simultaneously his mind is overwhelmed by fear. this tells us something very profound about the universal form. The universal form is astonishing, but it isn't necessarily intimate. And again, that gives us the separation between experiencing relationship in Aishwarya, which means awe and reverential, and Madhurya, which means intimate. So it's being made very clear that even we see the potency, the omnipotency, the omnisciency of the Supreme, right? And we become awestruck by that. That's Aishwarya. But in the other aspect, the other dimension of love exchange, Madhurya, you don't see that. That's not there because that kind of blocks awe, fear, reverence, blocks the natural flow of love, which comes from a mood of friendship, a mood of a parent, the mood of an intimate lover. It would block that. The natural flow of love in those flavors has to be free from awe and reverence so that the exchange can be as casual as it needs to be, as intimate as it needs to be. So this is an important thing to understand. So let's move on to text 46. So we're seeing first, he's recognizing the universal form, overwhelmed by the universal form, glorifying the universal form. And now in 46, he's saying, O universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form. So this verse, Arjuna's kind of had enough of being overwhelmed and awe-inspired and frightened. And now he wants to see the other aspect of Aishwarya, because Aishwarya in relationship to Vishnu, the four-armed form of Vishnu, the awe and reverence is there. There's no fear, but there's awe and reverence there. So Arjuna is he's sliding from awe and reverence to the universal form, now wanting to see the four-armed form, a more loving, a more compassionate feature of the Supreme, yet still there's reverence there. There's a formality there in terms of the relationship. There is a specificity is I can't say the word specific. That's easier. There's a specific kind of relationship when it's in awe and reverential in relationship to Vishnu. So he's asking to see that. I long to see you in that form. And then in text 47. So what is that form? Four-arms, right? He has a crown. He has in each of his hands, he has a different, he has a lotus flower in one hand, a mace or a club. In another hand, he has a discus in the other hand. So in these four arms that you see, I only have two. I could pretend there's four here, but you can, the lotus flower, the discus, the mace, and different features have different symbols in their form. So this is the form of Narayan Vishnu. And why does Arjuna ask to see this? Because the universal form has become overwhelming. It has inspired awe, it has inspired reverence, but it has also inspired fear. So he wants to see a form that is recognizable as the Supreme. And without the fear factor. This is important because the distinction here is Krishna is revealing the universal form, but Arjuna is also asking Krishna to reveal the Narayan or the Vishnu forearm form feature. So that's also indicative of the fact that, again, Krishna is the source of all features, all forms, all manifestations of the Supreme. So that is a very important point. Now we move to 47 and 48. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you by my internal potency this supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form in the material world." So there is no other way to see these forms of the Supreme other than causeless mercy, by grace, by the grace of the Supreme. Because what is Krishna saying here? Not by studying the Vedas, not by charity, not by performing sacrifices. These all accrue pious credits. There's three types of pious credits. Pious credits that you get by performing good acts in this world. And the result of that is you get good credit. Like when we talked about karma, if you act nicely in the world, you act dharmically, you act kindly, you get pious credits, you get good karma, you get good reactions for that. But then there is the kind of piety that you receive by meditation on Brahman, the spiritual energy of the Supreme. And those pious credits lead you towards moksha or liberation. And then there are pious credits that you get from performing bhakti. And what you receive in terms of pious credits from bhakti is more bhakti. Because what does bhakti mean? It means devotional service to the Supreme. So what are the pious credits? Increased opportunity to serve the Supreme and to go deeper and deeper into loving relationship. When your relationship goes very deep with an individual, whether it's a friend or it's a lover or your parents, the deeper it gets, the more you are open, you're willing to become vulnerable to that person, right? If you have a good friend and you confide in that friend, you're becoming more vulnerable. If you have a good, loving relationship with your parents, right, then you become vulnerable to them. You can reveal your heart. Oh, I'm having difficulty in school, Dad. I'm getting bullied by this guy, or this teacher is not behaving very nicely. Because kids in general, when they reach a certain age, they don't want to reveal anything. But if you strive as a parent to connect deeply, the deeper you connect, the more vulnerable the child becomes, the more willing they become to open up to you. And what to speak of your intimate lover? One of the reasons relationships fail, marriages or relationships, is because there's not the trust that's there. There's not, and maybe a lack of respect, a lack of confidence in the relationship. But when it is there, when there is a deepening relationship and a deepening exchange, then trust is there. You trust your partner. You respect your partner. You have an abundance of affection. These things are naturally flowing from your heart. So this is the nature of deepening relationship. And it is also what is significant about bhakti, reciprocation with the Supreme. When we enter into an ever deepening relationship, then things open up that wouldn't normally open up in another type of Aishwarya or all reverential relationship. Then you're able to interact with God in a way that's unheard of. If you read the pastimes of Krishna when he came to this world, and the lila that he had with his cowherd boyfriends or with the gopis, it's just absolutely amazing, that Radharani could chastise Krishna. Radharani could make Krishna cry, or Krishna can make Radharani cry. So in this way, the levels of experience, emotional experience, you don't get in bhakti. It's not that we become free from emotions. It's just that our emotions are purified and they are directly experienced in relationship to God. Because love is a rainbow of emotions, right? When someone that you love goes away for a long time, what's the first thing you write? I miss you, right? That emotion, sadness or sorrow is also a relationship. It manifests when you love someone. So sorrow is to be embraced, not permanently, of course, because then you'll be depressed. But sorrow, when you feel the loss, someone that you love deeply, a friend passes away, or a relative passes away, and you feel that sorrow, that's not a bad thing. In fact, psychologically, they say it's very healthy to grieve because that sorrow is a manifestation of love. It's not, it's not something separate from love. So love is a rainbow of emotions that are to be embraced because they are the direct result of a reciprocation like no other. And that's what makes loving relationships special. Much more profound and variegated and inspiring than just to meditate on the oneness or to see the distinction between prakriti and purush, the material elements and the spiritual, which these other yoga systems put you in. When Patanjali, when he says yogas chitta britti narodaha, when you achieve narodaha, this placid, this calmness, this silence, then what do you experience? You experience the nature of the self. But Bhakti says you act according to the nature of the self, according to the love that you're experiencing in relationship to God. And you see in a lot of the religion mystic traditions, like St. Francis of Assisi was one of my favorite growing up as a Catholic, St. Teresa, another, St. Catherine, all these different personalities, they developed a relationship and a separation. And of course, in the Bhakti Yoga tradition, many, many different saints were there experiencing the love relationship. So, this is what's special about bhakti. So let's continue. So what does Krishna say in 49? He says, do not be disturbed. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. And then Sanjaya, in his realization, moments of realization, he shares with Dhritarashtra. And 50, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real form, and at last shows his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. Now Arjuna is moving back into his intimate friendship, confidential friendship relationship with Krishna, and the fear goes away, and the awe and reverential mood goes away, and then they interact like friends interact. So it's an amazing thing to see, amazing progress. And then if you study 54 and 55, very important, Krishna says to Arjuna how you get into this reciprocation, this interaction, this love exchange. Only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. So when I was remarking, it's not a put down of other religions. I'm just saying here the advanced nature of bhakti yoga tradition, in that Krishna is saying, through love and through service to me, I stand before you. You see me, you hear me, you interact with me. And Krishna is saying, by this love exchange, which is within the bhakti yoga system, only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. And part of the mystery of the understanding is that Krishna will relate to you as a friend. Krishna will relate to you as as a child, as your child. Or Krishna will relate to you as supreme lover. That's like the mystery beyond mysteries. That's way beyond awe and reverence. That God is omnipotent, God is omniscient, God is the creator, God is the destroyer. Just listen to that glorification. And then you read the glorification of Arjuna to his friend, or the gopis to Krishna. It's a whole other mood. It's a whole other set feelings, different kinds of emotions. That's why I say love is a rainbow of emotions, and they're to be embraced when they're in relationship with the Supreme. So, 8 o'clock. How about that for timeliness? And now we open up. Well, next week, next Tuesday, we'll begin with chapter 12. And the chapter title is Devotional Service, Bhakti Yoga. So, any questions, any comments, any observations, any takeaway points that you'd like to share with us, please feel free to do so. Anyone?
Hare Krishna, Lakshmi Prabhu.
Is that Premarnava?
Yes. I think I heard somebody. I don't know if that person can
I'll
answer.
wait. You go first.
Oh, yeah. So, looks like a high bar. Thank you so much, first of all, for so many details about comparing, our life with our family and uh, how Krishna enjoys with Mother Yashoda. And I also grew up with a huge family, and it was very nice. But it's temporary. But at one point you say that almost unrestricted devotional service or something like that,
Say that again.
and like devotional service without stopping constantly. When what is it? When Krishna showed Arjuna his real form, he said, you are seeing this form because of your devotional service."
Mhm.
So we are kind of like part time. Sometimes we are reading, but we also like our mind is interested with other things. Can you provide some advice for those who are trying to like progress in that kind of like devotional service? Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Rupa
thank you.
Goswami, Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction, he says there's 64 items in Bhakti Yoga, but he highlights five. And when we look at what Srila Prabhupada gave us, to what he emphasized when he was present and he was giving us instruction, um, he emphasized these five that Rupa Goswami recommended. And number one is chanting, first and foremost. In any way, in anything that you do, in terms of bhakti, chanting is always recommended. And chanting the names, because in this day and age of Kali Yuga, the thing that is most recommended for this specific day and age is the chanting of God's names. So chanting we do in two different ways. We do it in kirtan and we do it in meditation, also called japa. And for those of us who have taken to the path of Krishna bhakti, specifically it's the Hare Krishna mantra, because that mantra is considered the Maha Mantra, the source of all mantras. So it means that we have to emphasize and put in our life, assimilate into our life chanting, kirtan, japa, meditation, or both. And then by doing so, that helps us, that gives us the strength and the purity of heart to begin to see more and more. Like I know, I've had conversations with Trish, for instance, and Trish has confided, that the more I'm studying Bhagavad Gita and attending kirtans, the more it's kind of ringing bells for me, right, Trish? You remember you were telling me that, and that's because of what you're doing. And for you, Premarnava, who've been practicing for what, over 30 some odd years, right? It's nothing different. It's just that you have to go deeper and deeper and become more mindful. You have so much knowledge at your disposal, so much you've heard, so much you've experienced. And now to put that into effect, it's like a person who goes and gets educated, right? Goes and gets a degree, an advanced degree. And once they get that degree, they've worked hard for that degree, right? But then what's the next step? The next step is to implement the knowledge that you've received in such a way that gives you realization of that knowledge. Because there's jnana, knowledge, and vijnana, realization. So when we get educated, it has to go beyond the books, the book knowledge, into practical experience. So depending on what level you're at in terms of your path, your spiritual path, you always have to look to the next step. How do I go deeper? You know, if I'm chanting in kirtan, how do I go deeper in that chanting? What is it that I meditate? I'm meditating on that sound, that transcendental sound vibration. I'm not letting the mind play tricks on me. And how do I look? Do I have a cool enough outfit on here? Am I playing the instrument? Or, you know, you can't get off into the mind game. It just has to be you and the sound vibration. And when you're meditating, same thing, you and the sound vibration. So in whatever stage we're at, whatever station we're at, we always have to look to the next step. How do I go deeper? Chanting is first and foremost. Secondly, sadhu sangha, associating with advanced practitioners of the yoga system that you are practicing. Why? Because just by observation, you can see the next steps that you have to go to. Just by observing, hearing their realizations, seeing practically how they act, how they perform bhakti. So chanting, sadhu sangha, then swadhyaya, study of sacred texts. The study of sacred texts is a meditation in and of itself, and it has to be as such. It's not like we're reading a novel, but it's a meditation. When Krishna says in the last verse that just by undivided devotional service, can you see me? Can you understand me as I am? But he's given so much in that statement, so that it means we try in our life to do things in connection with the Supreme. And then it becomes our devotional service. Swadhyaya also means self-study. So how do we observe ourselves, you know, our chanting habits, the association that we keep, the places that we go to, you know, all of these things come under scrutiny, our own scrutiny, you know, we observe. Because if we really want to make the most amount of advancement on our spiritual path, then the more we observe what we are doing and how we are doing it, the more we can have clarity as to, you know, things like that, places to go, events to attend, people to hang out with. All of these things become, you know, very, very clear, very clear. Then it's going to holy places, and that means an abundance of things. Of course, there are holy places in India and throughout the world where Krishna or Krishna's devotee has performed pastimes, and those places become infused, surcharged with spiritual energy. So it's good to go there. But holy place also means your home. You have to turn your home into a holy place, because eventually when you do that, it helps to turn your heart into a holy place. So rather than you having to go to a holy place, that your heart becomes that holy place. And, you know, that's really the goal of doing those things, so that your heart becomes the holy place. And then finally, there are rituals within the Bhakti Yoga tradition, which helps us to advance, to progress. And the ritual of arti, dancing and chanting before the deity of Krishna, all of these things help us. So again, I'd say, depending on what stage you're at, what level of commitment you're at, that's another consideration. You really need to deepen your commitment, right? How does a relationship get deep? It's when you're committed to it. If you're not committed to a relationship, then you're just like, ah. But if you're committed, then the relationship will get deep. There's conviction. There's an ability to have determination in the relationship, So all of these things are there. So does that address your question in part or in whole?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, that was a lot. That was a lot to meditate on. You went really, really deep. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Well, I'm inspired because there's new people on the path of bhakti in our class. There's people like you, Premarnava, that have been around and practicing for many years. So we all have to apply it according to our level of conviction, our level of commitment. And, I'm also preaching to myself because I also have to, look at myself, swadhyaya, self-examination. What can I do better? How can I go deeper, etc. And, because Krishna says what we think of at the time of death is where we go. Isn't that scary? I mean, it's clear.
Yes.
It's clear, but it's also, if we don't do self-analysis like that, if we don't take inventory of what we're thinking about during the course of the day, then, whatever we're thinking about, we become attached to. And our attachment, depending on the nature of our attachment, it brings about desire. So these are all important things to consider in terms of, how do we progress? Anyone
Thank you so much,
else?
Prabhu.
Oh, you're welcome, Primarna, but thank you for that question. Questions are important, and sharing your realizations are important. You know why sharing your realization is important? Because you're verbalizing now what you're thinking, you're bringing it out onto the table, and you're able to examine it more clearly. So never feel shy in asking a question. No question is a foolish question. It will help you to sort it out, in a better way. Jada, is that you? You want to ask something?
Hi, Lakshmi. Yes.
Hey,
Thank you so much for the class.
you are welcome. And thank you for being in the class.
I wanted to, I don't know exactly how this is going to come out. I know it's going to come out imperfect, but I've been thinking about the part of the story that we're finishing, where Arjuna sees the reality of Krishna and his fullness, and he chooses to come back into relationship, so maybe not experience the fullness in a way, but still experiencing the fullness in a different way.
Yeah, that's a good statement what you just said.
Yeah, so I feel like I struggle a little bit with the idea of, um I struggled a little bit, but I feel like I just kind of had a breakthrough just now with, okay, if you come back into a relationship, is that a lesser is that a lesser way because you're not experiencing it without the veil on? But now I know, like, I don't know, it kind of seems like the dance of things, and
Well,
it's not a lesser position. I just wanted to hear what you thought about that.
that is a very good observation, realization, etc. Because what Arjuna is actually saying, he's actually realizing the fullness of God is when you get to the relationship part. That's because the universal form comes from Krishna. So actually, it's a part of Krishna's totality. It's a part of Krishna's total being. So when Krishna wants to manifest himself in part, then he manifests himself in the universal form. If Krishna wants to manifest himself in another partial feature, then he will manifest himself as Brahman, the spiritual energy. If he wants to manifest himself, and these are varying degrees also of manifestation. But the way we are seeing it is allowing us to understand, oh, yes, the universal form gives us the realization that Krishna is everything. And then where Arjuna goes from there is the forearm form of Vishnu Narayan, the awe and reverential exchange is a step higher. And then he goes to two-arm form of Krishna, where we unabashedly, in our loving mood, exchange. So it's actually a progression leading to the culmination of love exchange. Because, as exemplified by the gopis, they don't really care that he's all powerful. They don't really care if he's omniscient, all knowing. They don't really care. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Krishna's all knowing. Okay, that's cool. But I like to dance with him. That's where it's at. I mean, when it goes through that, yeah, okay, he creates everything. He's the source of everything. Okay, that's cool. But I want to dance with Krishna. I want to hear Krishna play his flute. I want to throw flowers at Krishna. So that's considered the highest means of exchange. And it's free from any inhibitions in relationship with God. There's no inhibitions. Just like when you're with someone that you really love and you really know that they know you and you know them, then you can act silly or you can act grave or you can ponder, you can go through any mood that you want, and you know that that person will relate to it because they know you and they love you.
So it's like you can truly enjoy the form, you can enjoy the creation even more.
Exactly, knowing from whence it came, then you appreciate it even more. You appreciate how Krishna and his two-armed feature with the flower garland and the flute and the calves and the girlfriends and the boyfriends, etc., is capable of proving himself if he needs to. Like there's a story of a sage. His name was Uttanka Muni, and Uttanka Muni was a devotee of Krishna. But after this battle of Kurukshetra, right now in the Bhagavad Gita, we're at the beginning. After the battle, after all the ravages of war, etc., then Krishna starts heading back to Dwarka, where he lives in his palace in Dwarka. And Utanka Muni is an ascetic living in the desert. And he hears about the Battle of Kurukshetra and he hears some of the details. And he gets mad at Krishna. He gets mad because he said, why didn't Krishna stop that war? So many warriors died in that battle. Why didn't Krishna stop it? And he gets really mad. And then Krishna, he chances to meet Krishna in the desert. And he chastises Krishna. And he doubts. Is Krishna really the supreme? How can he be the supreme if he allowed all those deaths, that war, that massive war to take place? Krishna explains it to him. Krishna says, I tried. I can't force anybody. I spoke with Duryodhana. I tried to negotiate a peace settlement. I tried. They didn't want to listen. So the war took place. Destiny. So Krishna explains that. Utanka still has some doubt. Oh, I don't know if Krishna is really the supreme. And then Krishna reveals his universal form. And Utanka sees the universal form coming from Krishna, and he realizes, okay. So that the manifestation of the universal form is just to really keep us in check, really help us to understand, although we're playing with Krishna and we're having a good time, he's capable of that and so much more. And it
Thank you,
does
Lakshmi.
and it does make your relationship even more deep and great. You're more grateful. That's a great question. Thank you, Jada. Anyone else? We're 8:23. Maybe it's time to break it up. Thank you so much, friends, for being with me this evening, having a nice discussion as we've had. Great questions. Next week, we'll start chapter 12, which is the Bhakti Yoga chapter, the devotional chapter. So go over some of that next week.
I
First,
have a question.
maybe. Yeah.
Yes, Arturo, Puerto Rico. My niece turned me on to this tonight. She's actually on here, and I think she has something to ask. But I just wanted to reach out to you. You said that you grew up Catholic. When did
Yes.
you go from religion to relationship?
I like that. Did you convert? No, I went from religion to relationship. It was that's very good, Arturo. I like that. I'm going to probably borrow that if you don't mind.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all yours.
Okay, thanks. Now I feel like I'm not plagiarizing now, but I made after well during high school. I'll put it very simply. I kind of lost interest in the Catholic Church. I really felt at that time it wasn't speaking to me, so I didn't have anything. But I was always a deeply spiritual person. So when I got into college and I started studying, college gives you, especially when I went to college, 1968, it gave me a real sense of freedom, a real sense of liberation to explore. So I began to explore different things like yoga and meditation and things that I was attracted to. I really got into music very deeply at that time. And, a lot of things occurred. A lot of transformations took place from the age of 18 to 22. I went through a lot at that point in terms of growth and development, evolution, let's say. So I wouldn't consider myself a practicing Catholic at that point, but I did go, to appease my parents. I would go to Christmas Mass and Easter Mass and things like that. But as far as relating to it, connecting with it, I didn't. Then around 1971. I had a course called Epic Poetry. I was an English major, and I had an epic poetry course. And lo and behold, one of the epic poems we studied was the Bhagavad Gita. and I really hit me over the head, the Bhagavad Gita, reading it and hearing. And that really started me on my path to relationship and, from religion and, tradition, because sometimes religion is just tradition. Well, my parents and my grandparents were Catholic, so I'm Catholic. And, but in order for it to create a transformation of the heart, it has to move from just being tradition or, something you grew up doing and why not, to relationship. You got to have that relationship with God. So I can pinpoint almost the year 1971 is when I realized this was my path and I had to, progress on it. And I eventually met Prabhupada and read Prabhupada's books and became his student. And that was 55 years ago.
Yes, I know. I'm 55.
So at your birthday, you're born when? 71 or 2?
1971.
Yeah. So so around that time is when I began my journey.
Did you ever get to have any time or any type of interaction with Ram Dass?
I read that was the first book that got me started was his Be Here Now.
Thank you, Father. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful.
It was the Be Here Now book that got me going. And then there was a few other books prior to the Gita. Yeah, but I told Ram Dass, I actually had a chance to personally thank him.
You got to
For
talk to him, Father.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well, what happened was he was lecturing after he had his stroke, and he wasn't ambulatory. He was in a wheelchair, but he was able to speak. So he was giving a seminar, 3-day seminar in North Carolina, and I lived in North Carolina at the time, and his people, the organizers, knew that we were good cooks. So they asked us to cater the event, and we catered the event. So I was downstairs serving out the feast, the prasadam, to the people that were attending the seminar. And a person came up to me and says, Ram Dass would like to meet you and thank you personally. So I went up there and I met him, and Jayutal was there, and I think Krishna Das was there, and he was sitting at the head of the table, and they were all, you know, thoroughly stuffed on wonderful prasadam. And then he said, then he thanked me profusely, and then he asked me about me, and I kind of told him of my journey, and I said, by the way, I said it was your book, Be Here Now, that kind of charged my batteries, got me going, in terms of getting serious about my search. So he was happy to hear that.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I have one more thing to ask or a question
Sure.
about journey. First of all, by the way, you look extremely young for your age. Thank you for that. It's amazing.
76 and still going.
You don't look it, but wow. That's a beautiful thing. That's where you are in your relationship, and it shows. You spoke of awe and reverent fear. The awe and reverent, and I had an encounter many years ago in my transformation in my walk spiritually, and one of my what you would call a chant or a meditation was because I was reading the Western Christian Bible, and I said, people were showing me things, and I said, well, if this is real, then show me this little scripture, this little passage, and it talked about the fear of the Lord. I'm sure you're probably familiar with it.
Yes.
So I chanted that for about a month. It took a month, and I had a spiritual encounter, and because I know what it is to fear parents, or like, oh, I did
Sure.
something wrong, I'm gonna get whipped or whatever, you know how it is. And I'm kind of
Yes.
like, but is that really fear? I said, Lord, what is it to fear you? God, what is it? The Creator, what is it? I don't understand. Please show me. It took a month, and I had an encounter, and like you said, long story short, I began to understand that the fear was not what I perceived it here on this earth, or in this reality. What my experiences were, but the truth of what that is the awe and the reverence. That's the
Right.
beginning of wisdom, right? That's the beginning of the walk of truth. And
Right.
so I had skewed perception, and I had this moment in this encounter. I was living in Little Rock, Arkansas, by the way, and then I had this moment, and I was like, wow, this is what it is to fear. I wasn't scared. I was understanding that this is such a powerful thing. I had to fall on my face flat on the floor and just, you know what I mean? Like I thought every cell in my body was going to explode.
Well, I
And
mean that's the result of that overwhelming, right? Is to fall down on the floor. That's what the Sanskrit word dandavats means, is to fall flat on your face.
oh, I
You
didn't
pay,
know that.
yeah, dandavats. Yeah, that I mean when you see someone that you really respect, the natural inclination is to pay your respects in that way. And certainly to that degree that you experienced and other personalities throughout the course of history, when they have this overwhelming encounter with the power, the force of the Supreme, it naturally instills within them, desire to bow down. And
100%. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
because it makes us realize our insignificance. People work so hard to prove themselves and their importance in the world. But in reality, when we see things with clarity, we realize, we're really a little insignificant, but significant.
Yes,
We are significant in our insignificance. It's
that's
not
beautiful.
that it's not a demeaning position at all. It's just a clear space to be in. And
Absolutely.
and that's where humility comes from.
It's beautiful what you just said. Man, walk into the spirit of wisdom, sir. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you, Arturo, for sharing your realizations and observation. Appreciate it.
I'm going to hang out with you more often now. Thank you.
Please do. Please do. I come to Puerto Rico. Are you Triana's uncle?
I'm Brianna's uncle. Yes. Yes,
Oh,
sir.
okay. So Triana knows my comings and goings in Puerto Rico. So I usually try to get there for the Festival of the Chariots at the end of December. So
Fantastic.
she'll know if I'm coming or not.
Looking forward to having a moment with you. Absolutely.
And likewise, Arturo. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, absolutely. And everybody else that's on this, thank you so much. I feel the energy and it's powerful.
Oh yeah,
You-
these are some powerful folks on here, really.
Amazing.
All
Thank you so much.
right, you're welcome. Well, I'm going to end it here.
Prabhu, I'm sorry. Can I ask you a Ratayatra question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. They're taking their time with selecting a place. It's come to attention that maybe it might not be possible to do it in Pier 1 this year.
Uh-huh.
And they're waiting on a response from the people from the Pier 1. And I've suggested that we should apply for other paperwork for other places just in case.
Absolutely.
And I haven't had the authorization to do it. I'm like, I have to ask Lashminara Singha about this because I'm stressed about it. And it's already
No,
August.
no, absolutely. You should have a backup plan for sure.
Okay,
Otherwise,
okay. So should I
I
just
think
submit paperwork?
I think a backup plan would be some really, really nice environment,
Okay,
that
my backup plan was, or what my mind came to my mind and told me, is that, the Plaza de Armas at the end where we usually go around with the Rata Yatra,
yes.
there's a little corner to the left that there could be the tarima. And I think now Anita told me that at one point you guys did the Rata Yatra there one year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we did.
Really? Wow, well, I think that corner would be cool.
Yeah, I agree with you. What about La Fortaleza, all that land there?
Fortaleza, you mean like where
The lawn, the big lawn there. Because
Fortaleza,
people
like
people
almost El Morro?
Yeah, El Moro. That's right. That's right.
Oh, that's a good
Because
one.
yeah, because a lot of people go there.
Yeah, they're already there. Exactly.
They're there, you know, you don't have to. I think
Okay.
that might even be Krishna's direction, you know, to get more people.
Okay.
So you might want to consider that. And I think that's federal. I'm not
Okay. Now I
thinking,
got a plan A and plan B then.
yeah, El Moro, look into El Moro. I think
Okay.
that's a good,
Tomorrow I will do that. And I don't think I should wait anymore for like,
no, no, you should
okay.
not wait. You shouldn't wait. You shouldn't be on pins
It's
and
been
needles
it's been not
waiting.
letting me sleep.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Thank you,
like me
Dominic.
too.
Thank you for your time and always keeping my mind still.
No worries. And I look forward to seeing you this year.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Haribol.
Haribo. Good night, everybody.
Have
Thank
you
you.
gone to
Thank you.
Vishnugada?
Yeah, I speak to him a lot.
Okay. If you ask him, maybe he could have an input on that is also if you speak to him, and also if we start doing promotions. Because I don't know, the board is kind of low this year. I'm not getting a lot of returns from the board. So I might just take it up with you guys instead.
Okay. And then I think the responsive one I know is Gurunga Charan.
I know if Vishugada puts a little
Yes.
finger and a little pressure, everyone moves.
All right. I'll speak with him.
Thank you, Prabhu.
You're
Hare
welcome.
Krishna. See you
Hare
soon.
Krishna. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, your
Haribol, thank
presence.
you.
We'll see you again next week.
Haribol.
Same time, same station.